Hello YouTube, I'm back with the next Robot Wars toy review, and this is kind of, I think, the last Robot Wars merchandise that I actually have to review. And today I'm reviewing the Firestorm Pullback toy, and as you can see, mine's been through a lot. There's supposed to be an antenna on the top here. They snapped off. They're very heavily prone to snapping off. But obviously, as you can tell, and you can see, if you look carefully, see those little, they're kind of white at the top here about the flipper. That's because I put in screws that were too big. I was trying to make some modifications to the toy. You probably may notice there are no bottom wheels under here. I took those out. They were not like Firestorm. It was kind of a vain attempt to get the robot to have a lower ground clearance. Didn't work out too well, and that's also why, if you look on the bottom, there are different wheels. These are Lego wheels here. These are not the tires that were actually attached here originally. Although the rest of the pullback motors here, though, I mean, still works adequately well for that. The flipper still works. I mean, and you use the nameplate here. That's pretty genius, I think, of them to include that. As obviously, mine's a little weaker. It works, but it should just snap up and go like that. That's what it should be. I think I took out the original spring because that was not working too well. And yeah, because again, the flipper was not very strong. So I mean, if you look carefully, you can see a couple springs in there to make them make it spring up, and it works pretty well. I would say it's pretty adequate for it. I mean, it's not perfect. I think part of this had to do with me opening it up, just kind of to see how it all came together. It wasn't too exciting, but I mean, it was kind of interesting. The robot, I mean, the toy is pretty well designed, as I said. You know, the antenna can snap off really easily. I mean, really easily. Like you flip it over, they're really thin little bits of plastic. In fact, on eBay, you'll probably see most of them don't have the antenna on top. And yes, much like the front, you can see the back screws when they were too long for them. You can see them kind of sticking up there at the top. They're not actually on the toy. That was my own fault, but, you know, I was trying to get the flipper to work a little bit better. I mean, it was pretty useless. I mean, it doesn't really, one would expect it to launch them in the air like several feet, but I think you'd want them to go, you know, enough to roll them away. Heck, even the Willy Big Cheese has a better flipper than this. Chaos 2's flipper's been pretty mediocre. But this, you can't really, I mean, if I took the mechanism out that actually made it work, I like kept it pressed in like this, then maybe. But it's not really, it'd be very difficult to actually, like, manually open the flipper. You have to, like, I don't know. I don't really know how you'd go about that. But, I mean, the toy is rather nicely designed. They went through the extra mile, and all the details on the paint for the flipper. And obviously they weren't going to get it with two separate motors to power it, you know, steering. They were going to make them all consistent. So it works pretty well. And as I showed, the pullback motor is pretty decent, although obviously it won't be probably as good as if it had the actual tires that came with it. I think the back here, it's either, I know at one point they had a spike that stuck out, but I don't think that's present on here at all. So I think what this is something entirely different. I think it's, oh, I don't know. I could probably look it up myself, but I think it just prevented the robot from landing on its back end. Although that was probably very unlikely. I don't know. It may have been. I don't know. There's indications that it probably had something attached here. You could, but there's nothing that attaches with the toy. It actually had, I think, an accessory. It wasn't a flame. Was it a flamethrower? I don't think it was. It may have been. Oh, I don't know. I don't remember what the accessory for this was. I never really used them anyway. But yeah, I'd say at least the flipper works compared to the mini-bot. The mini-bot, it's just welded shut, and you're not going to get anything out of that. Not that it would help because it's too high off the ground as well. Anyway, and of course the screw holes, unlike the first two, if you look at all the other ones, they're all flat into the body. The two on the front, they're just like they raised them up. So that, I think, is what's mostly preventing the toy from having a good enough ground clearance to be any useful. You probably have to like make something up, make an extension for yourself, kind of like the team did with the real Firestorm in the actual show. Actually, gave it sort of an added lip here on the bottom that actually, you know, helped it out a little bit. But you know, I'd say it's still a fun toy, and you get to see the innards and how it worked. I think those are the hydraulic rams or the pneumatic rams that powered the flipper in the show. And I think here would be the two motors, or something. I don't remember. I don't remember all that much. I mean, Firestorm did pretty well in the competition. I mean, you must have done well if your robot got merchandise, excluding some of the mini-bots that were released for BattleBots, including robots that you would never remember on the show. Even if you were a hardcore fan, you'd probably forget a whole bunch of them. And doing 3rd place, like, what, 3 times in a row? Not a bad record. It may be kind of annoying that they didn't get the championship once, but, I mean, come on. That's not bad. That's pretty darn good for a robot that... the flipper is not really that effective, per se. I mean, it's much more difficult to actually flip your opponent over when you're basically, you need the robot to come all the way up onto the flipper, almost like completely, and then toss them over like that. That's why Chaos 2 and Bigger Brother and all that were all a lot more successful, because they had a rear hinge flipper. Tends to be a little bit better designed. You can get them underneath only from like a little bit, like just the lip of the flipper, and then just toss them over. They'll go over pretty quickly. That's why Chaos 2 was able to get so many robots out of the arena. Bigger Brother did that as well, although Bigger Brother had a much narrower, it's more of a flipper arm. It's not like a solid flipper like Chaos 2 or Really Big Cheese. Really Big Cheese was another robot that I could have gotten the nut, but they kept having problems throughout their matches. Gearboxes mostly. Gearbox is just kind of killing the robot. But the toy is, I would say, I would recommend it, definitely. You may be better off not having the antenna on top here, just so you can kind of more accurately replicate the Firestorm is flipped. You can just kind of rest it right on, because I think with the antenna, they were actually, oh, I don't know, about that tall, maybe? See if I can, yeah. See if I can give you a better idea. They were more... You know, maybe about that tall, something like that. I don't know. They were more decorative than anything else. And the real Firestorm, I think, may have only had 1 antenna, if anything. And that was just for the radio remote control. But yeah, all the detail they went into this, that's pretty amazing. Even the little indentations on the sides here, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'd recommend this if you're a fan of the show. You'll get to... one of several bots to actually have a flipper. I mean, you did well. You'll have a replica of a 3rd place, you know, multi-3rd place winner, even taking down Hypnodisc kind of by accident because they fell in the pit and they broke their drive system, so they couldn't return for a rematch, even though they both fell in the pit. So, I mean, yeah, I would definitely recommend it. This is definitely a toy worth having. I mean, the black wheels you can easily take out, just unscrew it, and don't be like me and put in bigger screws than what was originally given to the toy. So, yeah, that's my review on the Firestorm Pullback toy. Thanks for watching.